Hey, a little bit more annoyance time over here on Merchant of Venus. It comes from this red drive. I've got to swing through here. I did roll some dice. I've decided which way I want it to go, but I was seeing how annoying this is. A 9 here, so I had no option to head down this way. That's great. I should have perhaps chosen this as my first move, well, this, because of the red drive, but who can tell? Choosing this gave me a chance of going the direction I wanted to anyway. 1, 2, I've chosen a 3 as my number now. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, already becoming more complicated to count in a game that counting's bad. Now I have to think, whoa, I wasn't planning on going this way. What can I do? Right? And that's where it goes. I have this 1 here that I've got to get somewhere. Well, I want to get it up here. Okay. How the hell do I get that? Well, I head this way. I've got the 3. Great. All right. Well, now we start over again because I don't remember what I counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that's as far as I go. And this may be very easy for some people, but for me, this is playing to my weaknesses of what I can handle. You know, I would rather be computing logarithms to determine my movement than doing this. So the Eep is using his Spy Eye relic. This guy just dumped in an item and more stuff showed up for the humans that hasn't, more demand showed up for the humans that haven't been found yet. But actually they have. That's what we found here. He used his Spy Eye to help him not only determine what this was and that it wasn't really what he wanted, so maybe he wanted to go this way, but he blew through a couple of navigation hazards, paying $10 each for the repairs or whatever that's supposed to represent. But he got to see a couple of relics, actually. Nobody knows this one's a relic, but he does. By peeking at them from a distance. This one he sailed through, so it is revealed. This is kind of nice. It allows you to lock gates, so you could make your roll and say, gates don't affect me, the telegates. That's kind of neat at the beginning before you actually roll your dice. This one's autopilot. You get to declare one of your dice a 4. That can be very useful too. These are nice little navigational aids. They also are some additional money that if you're kind of behind in cash, you can crank extra cash out with. So it's kind of a tough thing not to grab them. He probably will go pick them both up if no one else comes down here and grabs it. By taking, by showing the 4 here, he may be driving Red, who's sitting on a 9, from heading down this way. If he had bypassed and headed out this way or grabbed a relic, Red might have thought that they could get down here first, discover a place, get the bonus IOU, and maybe even sell their stuff. Right now they're down though. With the 9, they need a 10 and a 1. There's blank areas. That's here and here. These 2 they know they could sell at. If they could get to this quicker, they want to. And that is probably what their goal is going to be. Try to get down here, discover it, because that's the closest place they can sell to. The only other places they can sell to are let's see, what are they? A 9, so 10, 1, 2. There's 1, 2 over here, and there's another 1 kicking around down here, neither of which is particularly easy for them to get to. They may be able to zip through here more rapidly. They have a shield to get them through that and through some of the problems over here. Okay, the Winhams also have an interesting choice. They have enough cash after having sold their last thing. They have over $200. They have an extra 80 that they could buy a spaceport and make 10% on everything they buy and sell. That delays them a turn though. If they don't do that, they've got a very good chance of finding another culture. So what they're going to do is sell right here. That 10% is not worth the extra turn in the race for the an extra culture that they probably have the victory in. We'll see. Yellow might be able to get there. They might desire to go here though. So basically we've got kind of this potential 3 people aimed at this and 2 aimed at this. Taking the turn to sell to get rid of your goods and try to move Well, there's no chance they can sell here or here whatever they pick up here. They only pick up 3s here. That means they need a 4, 5, or 6. That's not available. It's 1 in 10 that are available. They may not want to carry any of that mulch wine. We'll see. Actually, they decided to. Basically, they wanted to buy a shield. They were going to pay 60 bucks cash. The little chit said 80. They picked up the shield for 60 of that, the extra 20 bucks into the mulch wine. They can burn the mulch wine instead. An 80 buck token isn't worth a whole lot. So, making that choice, they can always dump the mulch wine if they don't like it. One of the things that's different from this, this is not so much the simulation that, say, the old SPI Star Traders was. So you can't warehouse stuff. You can't try to time the market or anything. This is just a game where you're flying around trying to make decisions based in the current time situation of the game. What can I make the most money off of this turn or in the next 3 turns or whatever? You're never given this opportunity to try to build up a long-term strategy in the game. No problem with that. This is still a fun game outside of the annoyances. I gotta do the Knicks next. No idea what they're up to. Well, they kind of lucked out while they were sitting here. They sold one of their finest dust, but there's a demand that showed up for their other one. So when they sell this, they're going to be putting 2 of these tokens in, which means 2 new ones that will get drawn out. And they get 100 bucks instead of the normal 50. But that means 2 more counters come out of that cup, and then they get to decide what else they're going to do. Another little grump, which applies far more probably to solo play than opposed, although I remember it hitting me in opposed play occasionally. You land on a planet, as Blue did. You figure out what you want to do. You start the process, and then by the time it's your next turn, especially if you're playing solo and doing everyone else, you got no idea what it was you were planning. Because you have this kind of 2-step process. You land on a planet, you start to do some of that, but you have to pick the best single thing to do first, and then all the rest of it was going to follow that, but now you have to do that thinking again. And, you know, I'm not a person who likes to focus intently on a game when it's not my turn. I want to be sitting there, you know, making jokes and enjoying the people around me or whatever, or just dazing out and going to sleep. So then, you know, there's going to be this restart cost for the thinking process again as your turn comes around again. It's certainly a game where you can be thinking about things as everyone else is going on. That's just not the way I like to play. And again, you know, I'm not going to spend a lot of effort burning myself out trying to play this more efficiently. But it is a game that can require way too much flexibility in terms of what your plans have to be at all times, because it's not easy flexibility. It's not like looking at the board and saying, this has changed, I'll just move here. It's accounting and accounting type of flexibility where you have to re-add everything and compare it again, which is just painful. Scrabble is the same way for that matter. The board changes. I can't play the thing I was thinking. So pre-planning isn't terribly good. You can be doing it, but it's not necessarily going to help you because the world may change significantly and you need to assess it on your turn. In fact, it may change during your turn as you sell things and things change. The Knicks got themselves caught by this kind of dual situation here that's really hard to get out of again. Ended up shooting up here, stopping there. They may pay the 30 next time to shoot across. They were only going to get 1 more point of movement this turn anyway. So it didn't seem worth it now. We can see what the die roll is like, if it'll get us all the way there. If it doesn't, if they get a crappy roll, they'll just stop at the next space, that 30 next to them as well. The humans find, gee, where I landed wasn't the greatest place in the world for what I'm doing. Yes, I was able to make some money off of it, but now all I could buy is Space Spice, and I did that. I took the turn to do that because there weren't any great options outside of that, but with that, I have to go to a 3, 4, or 5. Well, there's a 4 down here. Maybe I can get in there fairly easily. The 5, I'd have to run down here. The 3 is running all the way down here, and I'm not looking at a lot of profit. I'm looking at a $50 profit. Nobody's got demand for this stuff, sitting out, so I'm not going to get any bonus cash there. There really just wasn't a great option here. If I had a lot of holds, this would be cool, because this is cheap stuff. You make more than the value off of it. 50 bucks off a 30 buck investment, but that's only good when there's a nice run for it. And in this particular situation, there isn't a good run for it. And it's kind of how I end up playing too much. I just let myself be bopped around by these events rather than, you know, looking for that ultimate route and then just heading to it. Again, you know, I don't want to spend the effort on the game, because those ultimate routes will disappear eventually as well. So even if you get the edge off of it, it's not like you set yourself up on it for life. Speaking of some nice routes that developed, though, there are a couple down here, maybe not perfect routes, but we have the 9s up here come down to the 1s. The 10 goes to the 1. The 1 can be delivered over to the 4, but then where do you go with the 4? Well, if you could slip to the 6, which is possible, but then that kind of gets you out of this route loop and you end up somewhere else. The neat thing, like I said, routes deteriorate. As soon as people have used them a couple of times, the pieces are gone, and then they have to find new things as the pieces come onto the play. Things like passengers, demand, stuff like that becomes more and more important to the game as the cup comes more and more into play. Anyway, white beat red into this area, getting the bonus from it, but they didn't have anything to sell. Red has a bunch of stuff. They already sold one of them to sell, and then when they buy it back, they can haul it back to the Rock Videos, while white's going to be heading out to 10, the Quasov, and bring that back, I think, because that'll allow them to shift through here. White did find something interesting in here. Red didn't go to it. It's a pity. Red could have really capitalized on that. White didn't have enough movement to move the extra space, though. So red figures, well, if white didn't go there, and they didn't have too much other than, well, this is a good thing. But it's the same as here. If somebody uses that spy eye and doesn't pick going to the thing, you kind of wonder, it can't be that good. In this case, white's got a couple of good locations they found that by not going to them, they've kind of made other people shy away from them. Of course, at some point or another, everybody will forget, and somebody will end up going to them. And the round ends up with a couple more players grabbing artifacts. Black Wynnum landed here. Actually, he landed here and had to pay 10 bucks for that, but he's got a shield. He got a good roll. He wanted to whip around and then back up to the 3s if he didn't find anything, but he did find an extra shield. Now this is bonus because it's a relic shield. Normally you can only carry one shield on your hull. If you want additional shields, they take up hold space, but the relic shield adds another 20 to your hull. It means you can skim through this kind of area with 2 shields on your ship without paying anything, or through one of these. That's really a potent value. Over here, green also went in exploration. They paid 30 bucks to move through this space and grab themselves switch. This allows you to shift which die you're using as your navigation die. This is the magical one that allows you to run through this area without harm. And it is such a cool artifact, because this area, we've seen how painful this is to players. How much they get shunted off where they don't want to go. Well, by being able to switch your dice that you're using for navigation, you can get through this cloud area so much more easily. And it's one of the few reasons that I don't really despise the cloud completely, because there is something in the game that allows you to deal with this in a very, very effective manner. And by getting these kind of relics, the cloud one, the jump start one that allows you to just flip into the cloud if you want, because there's the telegates that showed up there in this game. These kind of things just give you so many cool options, and they allow you to hit routes that other players aren't able to get. And that's one of the really nice things in the game. Alright, I'm going to load this one up too.